Giovanni is the leader of Team Rocket and the first real antagonist besides the rival. Starting all the way back in Pokemon Firered and Leafgreen, he even managed to be in a gym leader position. His team consists of really strong Pokemon like Nidoqueen, Nidoking, Rhyhorn and Dugtrio. But can he beat Pokemon Firered and Leafgreen on its own? Here are the rules. I think the early game might be a bit slow and Misty might be a huge issue. But let's begin. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to change Charmander to Rhyhorn. I look at Giovanni's gym team and think Rhyhorn is the ace, even if it's only by level, while I think Blastoise is the hardest opponent to beat in the end. The early game can be a bit rough since Rhyhorn is very slow, but can take a lot of hits. Which actually showed against Brock. His team is very defensive as well, but my Rhyhorn dealt more damage than they could take. I wasn't even overleveled. The only move which could be dangerous is Bind, since it deals a fixed amount of damage each turn depending on my HP. Anyway, after a super long grind, even Onix goes down, which was a nice surprise. Brock is defeated and I can now get the running shoes and move on to Mount Moon. On Route 3, right before the famous cave, are wild Nidorans. Technically, Giovanni gets both Nidoking and Nidoqueen, but I think they are way too similar and I just take the first I find, which was the first form of Nidoking. At the end of Mount Moon I get the fossil. As far as I know, Giovanni never used any of them, so I cannot either. Or let me know if Giovanni did. To prepare for the first major battle after Brock, Nidoran evolves into Nidorino. I could evolve it into Nidoking right now, but I want to level up a bit more first. Because the rival battle at the Nugget Bridge isn't that easy to beat. His team is already quite good against me, but I only have one Pokemon who can even battle against Squirtle without getting one hit knocked out. Pidgeotto is not an issue for Rhyhorn at all. It can take some turns thanks to Sand Attack, but the end is all the same. While Squirtle is a completely different story. Nidorino can battle it, but the damage is quite low, so I have to rely on focus energy for some critical hits. It actually worked out way better than expected. Or not, because Nidorino lands on like 2 HP in the end. Abra is not an issue, never was and never will be. Last Pokemon to beat is Rattata, but Rhyhorn can handle it again. There are only normal type attacks incoming and Rhyhorn doesn't even feel them. The rival is done and dusted, but I don't even need to try Misty yet. I would get destroyed every single time. But I was too early to say that Nidorino needs to level up a lot first. I wanted to grab Horn Attack, but the HM secret power is here and way better. So there are no excuses now to not let Nidorino evolve into its final form, Nidoking, the king of Kanto for a reason, beating the first version of Pokemon in no time. Arriving in Vermilion City is something very special now because here is the Diglett cave, and as the name suggests, it contains wild Digletts. I like this Pokemon, but it's a glass cannon. At the SSN is one room with the TM for Brick Break, which is very nice TM to have. But it's only for Nidoking at the moment. Having a fighting type attack is very useful. I thought Misty is essentially unbeatable for a long while until I realized that Secret Power is actually the best move in the early game, by far. It has a chance to paralyze and if it does, the battle is won. Staryu didn't matter and never really does. Well, that's not true. It burns the Super Potion, removing the option for Starmie. All Nidoking has to do is survive one Water Pulse, hit with Secret Power, paralyze, and that's it. Afterwards I can use Rhyhorn for Stomp to increase the odds, and if that fails, I still have Diglett to knock Starmie out. Misty is defeated and it was way easier than I expected. Secret Power is just the best. Heading over to the SSN and battling the rival. This battle is way easier than Misty, but at the same time was quite close. Against Pidgeotto I used Rhyhorn. It can tank any hits while the bird cannot do a whole lot. The issue is just that Sand Attack was able to buy a lot of turns, like a lot. Not even sure if I would change anything in hindsight, it's just a bit tedious. When War Turtle enters, I bring in Nidoking. I assumed it can survive at least one, maybe two water guns. But didn't expect it to be faster and just beating up on water like there's no tomorrow. Of course the water type didn't stand a chance. Kadabra however is the last big Pokemon to defeat, and Nidoking cannot do it. I wanted to see if Diglett can, and actually it worked out amazingly. Faster, harder, magnitude, and Kadabra went down. Last Eradicate and I knew the battle is over thanks to Rhyhorn. Just wanted to see how long Diglett can take it, which wasn't very long to be honest. But as long as Diglett can defeat Kadabra, it's not a big deal and everything is forgiven. But I need Rhyhorn to deal more damage later on, it's quite low at the moment. The rival however is defeated and I can check out the captain's cabin, getting the HM for cut and immediately head over to Lieutenant Surge's place. But nobody's really questioning that my team can handle Lieutenant Surge, the electric type gym leader from Vermilion City. Every single Pokemon in my team is immune to electric type attacks and even if Diglett goes down, nobody comes through my Rhyhorn. The defense is just absurd. The only issue I have so far is that magnitude is random and Dig needs 2 turns, so I don't have a good reliable ground type attack yet. That will change later on of course. Lieutenant Surge is done and I can move on to the rock tunnel, the cave, which separates the early and the mid game. And inside is also a new teammate waiting. Onix was part of Giovanni's team in the rocket hideout, so I use it for this run too. I want to use it as soon as I can, so the rival at the Pokemon Tower has to battle me. I think Onix can be quite good, but some stars need to be aligned for this to work out. Against Pidgeotto, I can use Screech and then Rock Throw, but both moves are not very accurate. Sand Attack doesn't really help either. Seeing Rock Throw's damage at that point was a bit hard. Even with Screech, double super effective, it's barely over half. Let's say it's a level difference. Wartortle is too strong and Onix would never survive a hit, so letting it go is fine. Bringing in Nidoking. With Lieutenant Surge's Shockwave, I can try to beat up on the water type, but need 3 hits, a bit too many for my taste. Thankfully, Wartortle likes to play around and went down. The grass type Execute is a different story. It has all the necessary tools to beat me with Hypnosis, Leech Seed, Reflect and Confusion. My goal was to use Diglett with Aerial Ace, which is available right before Rock Tunnel, but Reflect will halve all the damage. I had a Chesterberry on Diglett in case Hypnosis is used against it, but I never needed it. Switching around whenever Leech Seed was used is enough in the end to beat Execute just barely with Diglett. Kadabra is very weak on the defense and Magnitude 8 is easily enough. Last is Growlithe and I still have Rhyhorn in the team. I think as long as nothing crazy happens, the battle cannot be lost from this point on. The rival is defeated again and I was able to use Onix at least once, which is great. Arriving in Celadon City, I think I need to take a different road than usual since Erika, the grass type gym leader, will destroy me easily and I don't have the funds for Ice Beam yet. That is actually my next goal. I went underground to find Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, but actually he's just a doppelganger, a fake. And his team is very weak, which is the sign that he isn't real. Onix and Rhyhorn go down against Diglett. Even though it was super close, I expected Diglett to go down against Rhyhorn, but it did survive on 1 HP. Quite close. Kangaskhan can deal a lot of damage and is very dangerous, but I do have Onix and Rhyhorn myself, which are very tanky, just not that great against Bite. It takes several turns, but even the normal type Kangaskhan didn't stand a chance. After the battle is over, Diglett was ready to evolve. I nearly forgot, and considering it nearly went down, it was a nice surprise. After going through Rocket Hideout and Pokemon Tower, I got the money I need to buy TM Ice Beam, which is exactly what is necessary to face the gym leader Erika. For some reason I wanted to start with Dugtrio and check how far it can go, which was one move. That's it. Nidoking in and the Ice Beam train begins. Victory Bell has no chance, Tangela didn't even know what hit it, and Vileplume needs 2 hits. But Stun Spore would never work thanks to Sherry Berry. Erika is defeated and I was surprised how easy it was in the end, but Nidoking and Ice Beam are just the best of the best. Speaking of the best, the Safari Zone is easily the best zone in the entire game. It's not even close. And here's also the last Pokemon I can catch, one of the strongest Pokemon in Giovanni's team, Kangaskhan. This Pokemon is just very tanky and can hit back hard. It has a low special attack, but besides Bite, there are only TMs which I could use. The Silph Co is occupied by Team Rocket and the rival wants another battle to see the full power of Giovanni's team. I had a very long training session to bring everyone up to speed, and that Route 22, it is devastated. Not sure if they will ever recover from that farming. But anyway, I wanted to see Onix against Pidgeot and think it's a nice feeling to have the rock type to be faster than the first route bird. Screech is maybe the strongest move Onix can get. Nice setup for the next Pokemon. Rock Throw does not KO but makes a huge dent, and I use Tackle to beat Pidgeot. No secret power since it wasn't needed to beat up Rattata and Mankey's on Route 22. Blastoise will destroy me anyway, so set up Screech to weaken the incredible defenses. Kangaskhan, the newest member of the team, comes in and it's not even close. That monster destroys Blastoise just like that. Growlithe and Intimidate are very strong against me, but the attack is clearly too high and I just secret power the little fire dog away. I removed Mega Punch, didn't like the lower accuracy, and Execute is just annoying to battle against. Stun Spore wastes so many turns and I got confused too. Since the damage is so low, it will take a while until Kangaskhan goes down. It's just so tanky and will most likely be the top 2 strongest Pokemon in Giovanni's team for the whole run. When it went down, Dugtrio comes in and I actually thought Aerial Ace will knock it out easily, but Execute survives to use Stun Spore again. Very sad to see, but on the other hand, why not have a Cherry Berry ready? Last Pokemon is Alakazam and it doesn't have Psychic yet, so I can take my time. Future Sight takes some turns to set up and I have enough Pokemon in the team to grind it down. But it wasn't necessary. Dugtrio managed it on its own. Rival is done once again. Giovanni's team is just way too strong, but let's see how it stacks up against the Giovanni in the game. I wanted to test some things out and start with Dugtrio against Nidorino. The damage was amazing even though the first magnitude was a bit low, and I got a bit unlucky later on trying to use some Pokemon I didn't use against the rival earlier. Kangaskhan can deal a lot of damage and doesn't matter on which side it is. And Nidoqueen has double kick, that's about it. It also has Body Slam, but I have a feeling it was way better in Generation 1. In the good old times with Pokemon Red and Blue, Body Slam was great. It was a TM on SSN instead of Brick Break. Anyway, even Rhyhorn cannot do a whole lot, but I wanted to end with Nidoking and Brick Break even though Ice Beam might be the better move here. Giovanni is defeated or Giovanni has won, depending on how I want to look at it. It's like the Spider-Man meme. I nearly forgot to beat Koga, the gym leader in Fuchsia City. But, as one can imagine, the battle is quite easy for a ground-type team. I try to beat him with Dugtrio alone, because I think that Nidoking will be able to handle him without any issues whatsoever. Coughings are really bad, but Pechaberry is here to help a lot against poison. And I was really surprised how easy Muk went down when it isn't able to set up Acid Armor and Minimize. Even in the end, Wheezing can be annoying with Smokescreen and Toxic, but the worst version of it was in Generation 1, hands down. The self-destruct aspect of Koga made it so hard to beat, but I was able to overcome the challenge and Koga is out of Pokemon. Nothing spectacular, let's move on. Sabrina is most likely the hardest and easiest battle of all the gym leader. The reason is simply Alakazam. It is able to do whatever it wants to do, I will lose every single time. But if it isn't, it's so easy to win thanks to the paper-thin defenses. Kadabra and Alakazam have no defense at all. Mr. Mime is a bit bulkier, but still has no defense to speak of. Even Venomoth is a bit interesting. It has Supersonic, but that's about it. Sabrina never stood a chance, especially with Kangaskhan still in the mix. While the stuff here is done, I travel over to the abandoned Kanto power plant to grab TM Protect and Thunder. Good chance that Thunder sees some action, since money is short for Thunderbolt. Hopping over to Cinnabar Island, here's the fire gem and its leader Blaine. I wasn't sure how hard the battle is, because my Pokemon may resist fire, but definitely don't have a lot of special defense going on. But it turned out to be fine when I realized that rock and ground type attacks are still super effective. The only issue is usually Arcanine, and it was for my team as well, but the sheer number of Pokemon available to me were easily enough to overwhelm Blaine's team. My team has a lot of good moves already, and I haven't even tried to optimize the movesets. When I do, they might be unstoppable. No reason for Giovanni to have such weak teams. Blaine is done and there's only one badge left, which just so happens to be Giovanni's badge. This battle is way easier than expected. I thought it might be rough because my team really doesn't like to get hit by Earthquake at all, but as it turned out, Ice Beam on Nidoqueen, Magnitude on Dugtrio and even Kangaskhan are just too strong to handle. It feels as if his team is the one without any defenses sometimes. I had Nidoking switching out earlier to have a safe KO against the last Rhyhorn because Ice Beam is special and special defense isn't too great on Rhyhorns. Anyway, the battle was easy, but that was the last easy battle for this run. Every single one from now on will be brutal. I lost a lot against the rival on Route 22 and grabbed Shadow Ball, hoping it helps. Also had to level up quite a bit, bringing everyone up to level 40. Since his Alakazam and Blastoise were too strong for me to handle, it was quite painful. But with everything set up, let's see how far I can go. I tried the same strategy as usual with Onix against Pidgeot and it worked out nicely considering the level difference. No Feather Dance is quite nice. Blastoise, however, doesn't play around and knocks Onix out in one go, so I use Kangaskhan and hope for the best. This is the part where usually everything falls apart, but this time I got the good damage range and win in the end. But let's be real. Water Gun on level 53 Blastoise? That's crazy. Rhyhorn resists every move or the defense is too high, so Nidoking can knock it out with a clean Ice Beam easily. I was scared to see Horn Drill though. Alakazam is a huge issue. I bring in my own Rhyhorn, hoping to see 2 Future Sight for a scary face setup and then go down to Psychic, but I haven't considered that Future Sight deals a huge amount of damage, beating Kangaskhan from way over half HP. Dugtrio has to handle it now, using Magnitude 9 to hit and defeat the Psychic type Pokemon. Against Execute it's quite simple. First getting hit by a status move, then switching into Nidoking for Ice Beam since Solar Beam is the only damaging move. My plan against Growlithe was to use Secret Power until it is paralyzed and then go down to let Dugtrio finish the battle. But Growlithe did some very questionable things and went down way before that. What was it planning to do? Anyway, the rival is finally defeated and I can move on to the last challenge of the run, the Elite Four. While preparing, Rhyhorn evolves into Rhydon. It's crazy that it evolves so late, but it's really worth it. Strong Pokemon all around. As usual, I go with level 45 as the first start. It's lower than the lowest Pokemon of the rival on Route 22 and it worked out fine most of the times. Not sure about Lance, but the champion? No chance, absolutely not. First Elite Four member is a Water type specialist Lorelei. Her team is quite strong against me and I had to figure out how to proceed. Kangaskhan seemed to be the best start against Dugong. Using Fake Out and 2 Return does perfectly knock out the first Pokemon. When Cloyster arrives, I switch into Nidoking. Cloyster isn't that strong and loses to 1 Thunder easily. Slowbro is quite weak on a special defense, but Thunder doesn't knock it out. And Nidoking goes down. Bringing Kangaskhan back, I can use 1 Shadow Ball to beat it. Lorelei's ace Lapras is very strong and I have to make a strategic rhydon switch just to let it go down. Then using Onix for Screech. I feel like Onix is just a Screech Pokemon in my runs. Afterwards Kangaskhan can come back in and start using Fake Out and Return, but it's not enough and Confuse Ray can make it hard to finish. But there's no choice, I push through and hit regardless, beating Lapras with 2 more Return. Last is Jinx and I switch into Dugtrio, but what was I thinking? Sweet Kiss and Ice Punch removes Dugtrio from the battle, bringing in Kangaskhan again and using Fake Out. As a critical hit, it nearly took Jinx out, but I can just throw a Shadow Ball in her direction and Jinx is defeated. Lorelei has no Pokemon left and that's it for the first Elite Four member. Bruno is quite weak actually. I teach Nidoking Surf and that does the trick. First Onix goes down to 1 Surf. Second Onix exactly the same, 1 Surf. Hitmonlee comes in and I wanted to let Nidoking go now using Surf until my Pokemon is defeated. But Bruno is so weak. This was a hard task, way too hard for him. When he did it, I bring in Kangaskhan and went for Fake Out in the full restore turn. What a blunder, but doesn't matter, Return knocks it out regardless. Hitmonchan gets a big return hit and Sky Uppercut missed. Not sure if it was relevant, but I don't want to find out. Last is Bruno's Ace Machamp and Return did good damage. But Cross Chop was way better. I bring in Screech Onix again and it loses after its job was done. Rhydon barely hangs on even with all that enormous defense and double edge hits to KO. Bruno is done, but nobody cares, let's move on. The most annoying Elite Four member is definitely Agatha, but with a normal type Pokemon, it's not that big of a deal. First Gengar has to deal with Shadow Ball, and it wasn't afraid to hit through double team with the second one. Against Golbat I switched into Rhydon with Quick Claw in hand, and I was a bit surprised how much damage Bite did. Way too much for my taste. But Rock Slide hits for big damage while Full Restore comes into play. I brought on the Double Edge and then another Rock Slide for the KO. Arbok's really bad, so I switched into Nidoking to spam Surf until my Nidoking went down. But that is fine, bringing in Dugtrio for an easy Earthquake KO. This Haunter was very funny. It missed a lot of Hypnosis, but Dugtrio only has Aerial Ace to fight back. It took a while and a Full Restore, but when Hypnosis finally hit, I switched into Kangaskhan to show Haunter what a Shadow Ball looks like. Last Pokemon is Gengar again, and Sludge did a huge dent in my HP, but Shadow Ball is just better. And the second one is actually enough to beat the Ghost type Pokemon. Agatha is defeated, and that means there's only 2 more battles to do. Lance, the flying type master of the Indigo League, is here to challenge me to a big battle. And I'm not scared to fight with Nidoking against Gyarados. Thunder hits but doesn't KO. That is actually very sad to see. Paralysis is amazing, way too good, and in hindsight was necessary to win this battle against Lance in the end. Aerodactyl has no good options against Rhydon, and Rock Slide just needs to connect twice to beat the Flying Rock. Rhydon's job is done, and I can just push forward against Dragonair while only one Double Edge hits. Dugtrio in and Earthquake to remove the first Dragonair. Second Dragonair loses half of the HP before I was able to beat my mono ground type Pokemon. Nidoking is still here and Ice Beam is exactly what I need to win. Last is Lance's Ace, Dragonite, and this was just wild. Ice Beam hits half and Hyper Beam brings Nidoking to exactly 1 HP, but the next Ice Beam was not enough and Lance uses a Full Restore. Fortunately, the Citrus Berry isn't here anymore, and a second one for the win. Lance is defeated, the Elite Four is defeated, but my team is defeated as well. The champion has too many good counters against my team. I think the level difference is too much for my team with only rock type Pokemon and some ground type who cannot deal a whole lot. So let me level up a bit and see what I need to actually win. I tried every few levels and this is how a battle might look like. When I started with 52, I already thought my team is way overleveled, but sometimes luck is on my side. Nidoking is great against most of his team in theory. 2 Ice Beam and Pidgeot is defeated, but Sand Attack can be dangerous. Alakazam has to use Future Sight and Nidoking has to hit with Mega Horn to remove the nasty Psychic type. When Blastoise arrived, I assumed Nidoking has to go now, but Thunder hits and crits to beat the Water Turtle from full HP. Rhydon is a weird choice to use now, but the one Surf is all I needed to knock the opponent out. Executor can be very strong, but Future Sight removes a big chunk of Nidoking's HP, and this is the first time something missed. An Ice Beam, but that's okay. Sleep Powder removes the Lumberry and the first Ice Beam connects to deal more than half. Another Sleep Powder and Nidoking is not able to battle anymore unless it wakes up just in time to beat Executor, but it doesn't happen and my Nido goes down. Screecher comes in and uses Onix to lower the defense harshly, but it missed and just refills the HP instead. That's bad. Kangaskhan in, Fake Out to deal a bit of damage and then return, which did critical hit to knock Executor out. That was amazing. Last is Arcanine and I don't need to switch around anymore, just using returns until Kangaskhan goes down. I bring in Rhydon to finish it, but Rock Slide first missed. But it's fine, the second one hits and defeats Arcanine, the last Pokemon of the run. The champion is out of Pokemon, he is defeated, and Giovanni is the new champion of Kanto, giving the Viridian City Gym over to the rival Blue. Thank you for watching, please like, comment and subscribe, I see you in the next one.